Hello dear students, let's discuss about aorta. We will discuss each part of the aorta in detail. First of all, we should define what is aorta. Friends, as we know that aorta is the largest vessel, the largest artery in our body. So we can say that aorta is the largest artery of the body of the circulatory system. The next important thing to recognize about the aorta, is that it is the largest vessel which supplies oxygenated blood to the systemic circulation, right? So aorta is the largest artery which supplies oxygenated blood. We can say blood, but more specifically oxygenated blood. It supplies oxygenated blood to systemic circulation. Clear, friends? Okay, this was about the definition of aorta. What is aorta? Aorta is the artery, is the largest artery which supplies oxygenated blood to the systemic circulation. As we know that in our body we have two types of circulations. The first one is the pulmonary circulation. We know about pulmonary circulation. What is that? And the second one is the systemic circulation. Right? Systemic circulation. So this circulation which circulates the blood in all parts of the body. So this circulation is called the systemic circulation, and aorta is the blood vessel which supplies oxygenated blood to the systemic circulation. Right. Then we move forward and we want to know more about aorta. So the next point about aorta is that how many parts our aorta has. So the parts of aorta. So dear friends, aorta is divided into two main parts, right? It is divided into two main parts. And what are those parts? I will mention right now into two main parts. Listen carefully. Here we have a person standing, right? It's a great guy standing here. And okay, let me elaborate it. Okay, this man is standing here. Here is a tissue which separates the abdominal cavity from the thoracic cavity. So here this cavity is called the thoracic cavity, and this one is the abdominal cavity. Right, this is the abdominal cavity. So this tissue which is present here, this is the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm. Now look carefully. Diaphragm is the tissue which separates the abdominal cavity from the thoracic cavity. Now the part of aorta, look, I'm using red color just to recognize aorta. The part of aorta which lies above the diaphragm, which lies in the thoracic cavity, this is the thoracic aorta. And the part of the aorta which lies below the diaphragm in the abdominal cavity, this part is called the abdominal aorta. So generally aorta is divided into two parts. The first one is the thoracic aorta. Thoracic aorta. And the second one is the abdominal aorta. Right. Okay, let's move forward. Aorta has two main parts. The thoracic aorta, and we will inshallah discuss the parts of the thoracic aorta and all the branches from it in detail. Be with us. Next important point. What is the length of the aorta? What is the length of the aorta? So friends, the length of the aorta is about 37 centimeters. Right? Its length from the point of the origin, from the root of the aorta up to where it bifurcates into right and left iliac arteries, right? These are right and left iliac or common iliac arteries. So from here, from the point of origin up to the bifurcation point, which it bifurcates into right and left common iliac arteries, this total length is about 37 centimeters. Okay, so we can say that the length of this thoracic aorta will be, the length of our thoracic aorta is about 24 centimeter, 24 centimeter, and the length of abdominal aorta is about 13 centimeter. Okay, so when we combine both these lengths, it will totally become about 37 centimeter. Then we say, what is the diameter of the aorta? What is the diameter of the aorta? So from diameter we mean that if this is a vessel, this is its length and this is its diameter. So the diameter of our aorta at the point of origin, and we can, as we have divided the aorta into two parts, so we say that the diameter of thoracic aorta and the diameter of abdominal aorta, right? So the diameter of thoracic aorta is about 2.5 centimeter and the diameter of abdominal aorta is 1.75 centimeter, right? As we know that at the point of origin the diameter will be larger, and as we move forward the diameter will become narrower. So the diameter of abdominal aorta is about 1.75 centimeter and diameter of thoracic aorta is about 2.5 centimeter. Clear, friends? Okay, this was some important points about aorta. Now we move towards the parts of the aorta. Further parts of aorta, right? Inshallah, we will discuss this aorta in detail. So be with us, watch these lectures, and also do subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. So let's see the first part that I have mentioned here is the thoracic aorta. So let me discuss thoracic aorta first. Thoracic aorta, right? What is the origin point of this thoracic aorta? Clear? From where this thoracic aorta arises. Origin. So friends, as we know that thoracic aorta arises at the aortic valve, as here is our heart, and from left ventricle the thoracic aorta arises, and from left ventricle there is a valve which is in between the left ventricle and aorta, so that's why it's called the aortic valve. So thoracic aorta arises at the aortic valve at the level of fourth thoracic vertebra. Behind this, if we look posterior to this origin point, there will be fourth thoracic vertebra. So it arises at the aortic valve at level of fourth thoracic vertebra. This is its origin point, right? And where does it ends? What is the end point of the thoracic aorta? Friends, I'm talking about thoracic aorta. So its end point, as we know that it ends at this point at the diaphragm, at the superior part of the diaphragm, but it little bit enters the diaphragm, so its end point will be the 12th thoracic vertebra. 12th thoracic vertebra. Thoracic aorta ends at the 12th thoracic vertebra, its end point. The next important point is what is the length of the thoracic vertebra? What is the length of the thoracic vertebra? So its length, as I have mentioned here, is about 24 centimeter. Its length from the origin point up to the end point, it becomes about 24 centimeter. And what is the next point? That is, what is the diameter of the thoracic vertebra? So the diameter of the thoracic vertebra, as I have mentioned here, is about 2.5 centimeter, its diameter. And what are the parts of the thoracic vertebra? Right, this is important thing. What are the parts of the thoracic vertebra? So friends, our thoracic vertebra has about 4 important points. Right, let me make the aorta here, then I will mention all the parts. Okay, this is our heart. Let me draw it here. For example, this is our heart, and this is our right ventricle, and this is our left ventricle. Okay, I'm not mentioning all the parts. I'll just mention what we are talking about, that is aorta. Right, so from here aorta arises. Okay, this is the origin point from the left ventricle at the aortic valve. This is our aorta. So let me write the parts. This point, friends, where the aorta arises, this is the first part of aorta, and this is the root of the aorta. Right, this is the root of the aorta, this part. Okay, next, from here the aorta moves up. Right, aorta moves up for about 5 centimeter. So this part where the aorta ascends up, this is called the ascending aorta. This is ascending aorta. Okay, very good. Next, from where the ascending aorta ends, there is a curve. Right, there is a curve part of the aorta. So this curved path is called the aortic arch. The third part is the aortic arch, or we can say arch of the aorta. And then at the end of the arch of aorta, the aorta descends down. Right, the aorta descends down. It's going down at the back of the heart, and it comes down up to the diaphragm. Right, so this aorta is called the descending aorta. Okay, so then there is the fourth part, that is descending aorta. Right, these are the 4 main parts of the thoracic aorta. That is, this one is the root of the aorta up to here. This one is the we can say ascending aorta. Then from here up to here, this is the part which the aorta curves. So this is aortic arch, and from here downward up to here, this is the descending aorta. These were the 4 main parts of the thoracic aorta. Next thing about thoracic aorta that we should know is its innervation. Which nerve is responsible to control aorta, this thoracic aorta? So the nerve is the left vagus nerve. Left vagus nerve. This left vagus nerve gives a branch which is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So we can say that left vagus nerve gives branch the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Right, This nerve is responsible for innervation of aorta. Okay, so thoracic aorta. So this was about the aorta, the thoracic aorta. Some important points regarding this aorta. Now we move towards the branches of thoracic aorta. What are the branches which arise from the thoracic aorta? Let's see about the branches.